The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome from sunny Hove on the South Coast to this Boost Your G-Cloud Buyability webinar. My name is Chris Farthing. I'm the founder and CEO of ViceCloud. This is quite an exciting day for us because we're testing out a new format. It's going to be a much shortened format. We're only going here for half an hour, including Q&A. And we've got a fantastic new tool to launch, and today we're launching, and hopefully be offering it for free for testing. So a bit of housekeeping before we crack into this. We're moving at pace for this today. So this webinar is being recorded. Everybody on here is muted. So that means you're only able to ask questions, and please do ask questions via the questions but on your sidebar. Please don't use the chat, as we can't record that, and if we may lose open questions. So please use the questions place on your sidebar this afternoon. We will have Q&A at the end. We'll answer everything as much as we can. If not, we will answer all the questions that are asked and give answers in the wash-up, which we'll send out at some point in the next 24 hours, which will include the recording and the slides as well, and any links to any free giveaways that we've got for you. Okay, so with that, on with the webinar. So first of all, a quick recap to anyone who's new here or has not been on one of our webinars before. We are the world's only GovTech Buyability mentors. And there is no one else in the market out there who does what we do in the way that we do it with the people that we do it with and for. We consider ourselves public sector procurement experts, UK public sector procurement experts, and we specialise in quite a large amount of depth around G-Cloud and DOS frameworks. Usually for most, for any other people who say that do what we do, we work with suppliers and buyers. Okay, we've got deep expertise of working with buyers as well as suppliers, and we're going for coming up for 9 years now. It's our 9th year of trading, and I personally have been working with G-Cloud since version 1, since launch as a buyer. So what we'll cover today, so we'll talk to you in reasonable depth about what is G-Cloud Buyability and what do we mean by that, and how this affects you, how you can then be more viable and what you need to do to address that. There's a bit of an update on G-Cloud 14. I will stress this is no information from CCS. This is only our interpretation of things at the moment. And then some next steps for G-Cloud suppliers, and then finally on to Q&A. There'll be a number of polls that are interactive polls to help us gauge the temperature of the room, as well as and the temperature of the market at the moment, as well as being able to maybe change things about things as we carry on. Okay, so without further ado, let's go to our first poll, and I'm ably assisted by my excellent marketing lead, Danny, here, who'll also be doing the polls and questions. Danny. So, quick poll here. We've got a minute to answer. Have you sold through G-Cloud yet? Please set one of the following. Yes, we're getting lots of contracts. Yes, some. Yes, but only once. No, we've not gained any contracts, and we're not actually listed on G13. Looking good. Got about 80% of you voted already. I've got 19, only 2. I think we will call it a day on that one, actually. Now, let's go. We've got a lot to get through, so let's go through, and so we could share the results, please, as well. Okay, so there's congratulations to the 47% of you who've actually, 60% of you who have actually gained some contracts, and commiserations for the ones who haven't gained any. Hopefully, out of this, we'll give you some information about how you can improve at least your G-Cloud Buyability. So if we can close that down now, Danny, and we'll crack on with some more. Excuse me, there we are. So what is G-Cloud Buyability? Okay, so this is a term coined by us in 2020. We were trying to work out, what it is that we're blocking, what the possible blockers that are preventing suppliers from being bought easily, compliantly, and quickly. Yeah. And it is basically the art of being buyable, making sure that you cover all of the requirements of a buyer. When I was as a buyer, I used to get people phone me up all the time saying, "Can we sell to you?" And I pretty much have a standard questionnaire I go through, and by the end of it, they'd be very depressed and upset, and I'd be like, "Here we go again. There's another 20 minutes of my life wasted because these guys haven't done any research." So we base a lot of this on from buying from and working with virtually all of the successful G-Cloud suppliers over the years. And I suppose the first thing we can really tell you that getting listed on the framework is really just the start. It's a helpful start because a lot of my conversations used to end with, "Are you on a framework?" They're trying to sell me something that I can buy pretty much off the shelf from anywhere. And they weren't on one. And say, "Well, I'm sorry, we can't use you." Quite disappointing, but at least if you're on a framework, as the vast majority seem to be, or potentially aiming to get onto G Cloud, this could be just the start of your successful supplying career within public sector. So what is buyability indeed? So, it's not a quick fix, okay? There are some things you can do very, very quickly here. And I suppose really the first sign that you might have an issue around your buyability is if the first time you hear of a G Cloud contract is an award notice going to a competitor, you think, hang on a second, we could have had that. Then it's likely, and I stress likely, you've got a buyability issue. This could be something within your listing or your approach to the market or the way that you're going about stuff. So this session is going to focus solely on G Cloud listings, which is just one part of the puzzle. We'll touch on other areas, but there is a bigger picture around this. But we've only got half an hour, and we want to share as much information as we possibly can. So we're going to focus on G Cloud listings for a bit. So how can you be more buyable? All right, what is it important here? So excuse me, to my sidebar because I can't read the information. There we go. Okay, so there's a number of moving parts, okay, that make up a G Cloud listing. So first of all, in section you've got the service title, okay. In fact, you've got the service title, summary, features, and benefits. These are probably the most important to come up in terms of searching. All right, all of those words are searchable, within the search button that you have on Digital Marketplace. That's if you can find it, of course, thanks to the new PPG. Now, in the service title, I think you've got 10 words. In the service summary, you've got 50 words, and features and benefits, you've got up to 100 words that you can use for up to 200 words, 200 words for the features and benefits that you can have. So this is a really, really good way for you to put in exactly what your service does. Not marketing waffle. Please put stuff in that's relevant and that you think a buyer might be using. Now, CCS and G Cloud don't publish any data around search information, quite rightly, because otherwise everyone would be putting the same thing in. But it's still very important to test this out. I mean, this is where we spend a lot of our time on buyability, on the features and benefits. Next up is the service definition. Okay, so this is an absolute vital as a buyer. I find this vital piece of G Cloud. It's supposed to be a technical brochure showing in depth a number of things that you will be doing with your service, so that I can evaluate your service against others offline as I need to make sure that what I'm buying. Now, if I can't do that, then I will ask clarification questions. All right. Now, also as part of how it works on G Cloud, there are a number of filters on there in terms of what lot you're on, what the categories on there, the type of supplier you are, whether you're a reseller or not, what accreditations you've got, what security certifications, what your staff security levels are, whether you offer educational discounts. All of these things can help me filter down the number of suppliers. Because I mean, obviously, there's 50,000 services from 5,000 servers, 5,000 suppliers on G Cloud at the moment. It's an extraordinarily busy catalogue. And, I can't just type in CRM if I want to buy a CRM system, because that's going to return me about 3,000 different suppliers. So I have to be a way to filter that down to get to a manageable number to provide some form of evaluation. And usually we're looking at trying to evaluate around between 10 to 15 suppliers from a long list, and then around 5 suppliers for a short list. Okay. Finally, on this, just on the parts that we really focus on buyability, is your pricing. I cannot tell you the amount of times as a buyer I've had to discount someone for their pricing. All right, and you won't ever hear about it. Okay, and that's one of the things about this in G Cloud. It's the first time because it's done, all the searching award is done at the filtering and catalog searching part. You won't get to know about the fact that you've been unsuccessful unless you see an award notice. Not all contract award notices are published as well either. So pricing can be wrong. I mean, it's pricing on non-compliant. The amount of times I see price on application, still on G Cloud, or range pricing from outcome-based labour specialists. Okay, really realistically disguised recruiters. putting ranges in their pricing. That's non-compliant. Okay, it may be useful, but it is still non-compliant, and it's not really fair to ask CCS to police everything on here. The whole point of G Cloud was being able to make it almost self-policing, but also to provide a much more wider and diverse and open marketplace for people. So if you don't want that, then carry on doing some rubbish stuff like putting range pricing in your listings. Okay, so as I said, it's not just about what's on the listing as well. All right, it is definitely about what you do alongside it. So one of the biggest things in the past 2 years has been the introduction fully of social value, certainly within central government contracts, but everyone now is having to take notice of it. 10% of any tender or award now should include some form of social value. There's a small amount of social value that's allowable on the actual submission to G Cloud, but then there should be a little bit more detail and depth about what you're doing and what you can actually provide value back to the buyer in terms of social value, because each one's going to be different when you're dealing with health, central government, local government, policing, wherever, education. Another one is also, do your potential buyers know who you are? Now, I cannot tell you over the years that we've been using G Cloud, the amount of people the first time the conversation is, I've been on G Cloud for 7 years. I've never had an inbound inquiry once. Yeah. Well, that's probably because that's not really how it works. You do need to do a bit of upstream activity. Yeah, and we've had webinars in the past with the likes of Stottles and people like that, and we partner with Stottles to actually help you gain a bit of information so you can get involved in the upstream conversations. In other words, do you know how the framework works? That comes back to the I've been on here 7 years, etc. Do you know how the framework works? Without doubt, all of the most successful suppliers on G Cloud know how this framework works, quite often because we've trained them on how it works. Okay. How easy is it to understand your security? Do you understand the cloud security principles, especially if you're a software provider? Can you easily point to how to a buyer, how secure your services are? It used to be that buyers at procurement were the people that said no with the block as well. Once you're on a framework, you're kind of past procurement. It's now about information governance of the blockers now. Moving on, do you have a sector-specific sales and marketing plan? Do you know who wants to buy your stuff? Do you know how you're going to go and reach them? Where best to go and find them and get those people in to at least evaluate your product or services? All of this comes around to about making you more buyable. So that's very, very much in a snapshot around buyability. Okay, so obviously we're trying to move things on a bit here because we want to have a bit of time for Q&A at the end. So what we're going to tell you a little bit now about what we know about what's coming for G Cloud 14. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed on the Crowd Commercial Services pipeline that there is a spreadsheet has been launched just at the top of it that gives a 3-year look at what their procurements are, planned procurements are over the next 3 years. That's why it's called 3-year look. And that's across all 4 pillars. Now, clearly we spotted this, and in that there has been expected open for applications will be January 2024. Now, this could be earlier, it could be later, all right? But this is what we've seen with a go-live date of July 24. So we're looking still, what are we now? So that's 14 months until new services. So that means that G Cloud 13 would have been in play for, best part of 20 months. Okay, so it's a very, very long time for a framework that used to be refreshed every 6 months, all right? So we believe that lots 1 to 3 and 4 will be at the same time. We'll still be on what the public procurement gateway is, God help it. But also what we do know is there's a new framework launching, it's supposed to launch on Friday actually from CCS, that Cloud Compute 2, and it's just been delayed again, we'll start to take much of the Lot 1 cloud hosting and quite a fair bit of the professional services migration from on-premise into cloud. Certainly onto cloud compute and storage anyway. What you should also know is that we've started getting people ready for G Cloud 14 now. So especially if it gets brought forward, your last thing you want to do is suddenly be caught short and have a 35 or 60-day window to get your stuff ready when you're in the middle of a very busy week, especially for SMEs. All right, so we're starting now. We've got something like 30 odd clients already that we're taking through, and they know then when it opens, it literally have a few minor changes to make it up and done. So that's that. On to another quick poll. There you go, Danny. Thank you very much. So quickly, are you applying for G Cloud 14? Have you had enough of it and decided another way forward, or is this successful for you? You want to go? So please select one of the following: yes, no, we're not sure yet. See how it's progressing. Okay, so we've got 81%, 84, 5. Okay, we've got about 9% of you. We'll call it there. And Dan, if you could just share the results, please, that'd be fantastic. Okay, so 88% of you are applying for G Cloud 14. That's fantastic. 12 of you are not sure yet. Well, if it'd be great to know why you're not sure, actually. So if you could put that as a question or maybe email us and let us know, I really can help you understand whether it is right for you or not and answer those questions for you. So yeah, if we can close that down and we'll crack on. Okay. So that's sorry, we're moving away. So what are the next steps for G Cloud suppliers? Right, so first of all, take a look at where you currently stand. Have a look at your G13 listing. Maybe take a look at a competitor and see how you compare. Use the spend data. Yeah, if none of you are aware, on our as part of your management information that you submit each month about how well or not you're doing to G Cloud, they publish a CSV and also have recently put a Microsoft Power BI visualization. We've had it on for going on 8 years now. About where your competitors are, or who's buying what from whom on G Cloud. Okay, so this will hopefully tell you, are you buyable on G Cloud? You should know, because if you're doing a nil return every month, you may well have an issue. Okay, is your overall position in the market viable as well? Right, have a think about the areas that you're looking to supply into. Are people doing better than you? What's your percentage of that marketplace compared to your nearest competitors? Do that important strategy maintenance now. If you're a CEO or a sales lead or something like that, you should be asking these questions of yourself if you're not making the most of a G Cloud listing. All right. And again, use this time before G14 wisely. You might as well just sit there and think, yeah, we'll look at it. You've got time now. And so get prepared for 2024. If you look at that Crown Commercial Services pipeline, yeah, it's going to be, it won't happen in the order that they're putting everything out. But it's a big year. There's some very, very big frameworks. So G Cloud, DOS 7, digital specialist and programs, big data and analytics, tech services for digital capability for health. All of these frameworks that have large volumes of supply going through it are all up for renewal next year. Yeah. So, there's an awful lot going on. So, to the big reveal, we have invested in a tool. It's our buyability assessment tool. And what this does, it helps suppliers get to grips with what they need to do to be viable in the public sector. It gives you a buyability score. It's based on our GovTech buyability mentors, which is a bunch of my internal team, some of our very, very senior ex-Gov chief officers have all fed into this and helped us say what we think is important to supplier for them to know about where they're potentially failing. Okay, so this is free at the moment to anyone on this webinar. It will give you it takes a couple of minutes, so you can see here we can click on it, and I'm really, really excited to be able to share this. We've been working on this for quite some time now. Clearly, it's going to be in its first iteration, so there may be some teething challenges and things with it, but we'd be delighted for you to have a go at this. All right. And we've even created to make it nice and easy. There's a QR code, or you can click on the website and get into and find your buyability score. Okay, book your buyability check-in and find out your score. Okay, so with that, a quick poll. Please, Danny, I think this is our final one. So how have you found this session so far? Bear in mind we've got Q&A in a second. Please set one of the following: very useful, useful, or not at all useful. Okay, we're at 90% voted. Let's publish that. Huzzah! 9% of you found this very useful. Thank you very much. It looks like a competitor hasn't made it on. Those who've been on the past, we normally have a competitor who comes on here and clicks not useful every single time. So yeah, anyway, I promised we'd leave you with 5 minutes for Q&A, and we have 4 minutes and 58 seconds for Q&A. So Danny, may I have some questions, please?
Oh, yeah, some questions are coming in now. As Chris said, do send them across into the questions box. And one of the questions that came in said, what are the professional services you mentioned that are moving onto the cloud compute framework?
So cloud compute has 4 lots on it. Okay, lots 1 and 2. 1 is for hyperscale cloud solutions. Lot 2 is for closely associated either resale or solutions around hyperscale cloud. Yep, so it could be FinOps or things like that, or cloud security operations, things like that. Lot 3 is for the professional services. So this is for people that do helping decide whether the cloud's right for you, helping you migrate from an on-prem onto public cloud, and potentially some other things around that. But mostly it's going to be around cloud migrations. And lot 4 is for secure cloud, by the way, so secret and above. Next question.
Okay, cool. Someone says we're not on, I think this is about renewals and gaining contracts. It says we're not on G Cloud at the moment, but we've recently begun working with a public sector organization. Does this mean we have to wait until January 24 to apply to get onto the framework? Our contract renews in April 24 and would ideally like to be on before then.
Yes, it does. And unfortunately, the go live date for G Cloud 14 is July 24, so you're missing a little bit there. So you're going to need to seek something alternative, or pray, hope, badger CCS to launch Crown Commercial to launch G Cloud 14 earlier, so that it goes in time. Personally, that's what I prefer. Get a supplier refresh in while they deal with their technology challenges, but that's CCS for you. Next question.
Some people asking about how to access the buyability assessment. We will send around the PDFs to everyone who is registered, which will have all the links and to consultations to the buyability assessment and all that sort of stuff, and how to get in touch. So we'll send that round hopefully this afternoon, but possibly tomorrow morning, depending on time. The next question is, our company is recently split in 2. The original company is still listed on GC13. The new company is not. What advice would you give us for getting this set up?
So the new co will have to either trade via the company you split with, or we'll have to wait until the new version of G Cloud 14 comes around. Oh, sorry, until G Cloud 14 comes around. You have no other choices on that one.
Yeah, cool.
Sorry. Let me just be clear on that. If your old co doesn't provide those services that have transferred over to the new co, yeah, then you can novate those services over. All right.
Brilliant.
That's it.
Someone asks, can we share the CCS 3-year plan mentioned? That is available on just their website. If you go onto their pipeline on their website, it's right at the top. It's just an Excel sheet that you access. If I'm right, Chris, that's
yeah, that's it. I'm sure we can put the link in the Q&A when we send it around.
Yeah, we can send that around for you.
Yeah.
Cool. So one of the questions you asked was about, do we know the buyers beforehand and that sort of thing? How would you suggest to build relationships with buyers?
Well, there's a number of ways of doing that, isn't there? So, first of all, use your network, join in industry events, potentially use things like this sort of webinar. Look for partners. There could be go and host your own events as well. Yeah, there's a whole myriad of things. That's quite a large conversation that we have, and we tend to mostly charge for that information. I think we're going to need to wrap up. We're coming towards the end now. Oh no, so we've got another 5 minutes yet.
Okay, yeah. So if anybody does have any questions, do let us know. If we don't answer them now, we can send around the answers afterwards. So don't worry about us running out of time if you do send them in. So there's a lot that suppliers can do to update and make sure their listings are buyable. How much are suppliers allowed to actually change at the moment now that it is actually live?
Well, there's a number of things you can actually change. So if you log into a digital marketplace account, it will show you the sort of things you can edit. So all of the searchable terms can be edited, and you can upload a new service definition. The service def should be able to go live, but the CCS do perform random checks on them to make sure you're not including new services and pricing within your service definition. So if you do try getting away with things on that way, that's it. So that's pretty much what you can change yourself.
You mentioned there was a dashboard to see who buys what from whom. How do we access that?
If you go to our website and click on the, is it knowledge base, Danny?
Yeah, on the Knowledge Hub tab. Yeah.
Knowledge Hub tab. Scroll down there, and you'll see visualizations for the G Cloud spend dashboard, also the digital outcomes and specialists dashboards as well. Okay, and you can have a look on there. And again, we'll include links to those in the wash up Q&A.
Yeah, cool. And I think we're one of the only visualizations of the data at the moment. I think CCS have actually taken theirs down, so it's a very useful tool to be able to see what the data actually looks like. So look, there's one more question. I think we've got one more question that's just come in. Do you recommend putting keywords into the searchable fields, or how far would you take this?
Well, yeah, of course you're going to need keywords in there. Keywords that providing it's not just keyword stuffing, and you're just putting as many to return, because a buyer will see that and will be overlooked. So it has to be relevant to the service that you're offering. I tell you what, there's a story from the old days, actually, before things moved on to digital marketplace. You used to be able to submit. You used to have to submit onto the cloud store a bunch of different searchable terms. Yeah, and a lot of suppliers were found to be using white text. Yeah, that didn't actually appear on their list, but meant they would return in search. That's one of the things that digital marketplace did away with. So just buyers aren't stupid. Okay, so when they're looking for people and they find that if I'm looking to buy a CRM and you put I don't know, a cloud migration thing on there and have used the word CRM in there and it's nothing to do with that, then you just be overlooked. Because part of the search, the buying process allows us as buyers to actually overlook irrelevant listings, and there are a few.
Brilliant. That's all the questions that have come in. So thank you everyone for your questions. And that's all of them.
Well, thanks very much, Daniel. That's fantastic. We're actually finishing a couple of minutes early, which is great. So I'm really grateful. Thank you very much for attending. I hope this new shorter format works. We will be testing different things, and please do give the buyability assessment a go, and let us know your feedback on it as well. I'll be really interested to hear about that. With that, I'm just going to wish you a massive thank you for everyone for attending, and please, these webinars are always free. We try and share as much knowledge as we possibly can, but we really welcome. I'm not bothered about Twitter, to be honest, but if you could follow us on LinkedIn if you don't already. We share an awful lot of content, and that's the best place you want to go and find out anything on new from our content that we provide. Okay, so please do follow us on LinkedIn, or if you want to get hold of us, there's some contact details there as well. And I look forward to speaking to you or seeing you again. Thanks very much.